at those pictures now, but like shredded, like my abs, everything had veins popping through, like shredded to the core. And now when I look at those pictures, I'm like, oh my God, I never want to look like that again. It's interesting how things change and your perception even of yourself and what you want for yourself, what you want your body to look like changes, because everyone asks me, will you ever do a show again? And I say, absolutely not. I don't ever want to look like that again. I don't ever want to lose that weight again because one, like you said, it's not sustainable. Two, I enjoy having womanly curves now.
All right, you guys, welcome back for another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. I am so excited about today's guest. We have Alexa Stimpfel, who is the owner and visionary behind the company The Shoe Fairy and her brand new line, Naked. Her entrepreneurial journey began at the young age of 23 when she was competing in bodybuilding competitions. She fell in love with the industry and wanted to create her own company with it. Her whole new mindset, which has developed from the disciplined bodybuilding lifestyle, transpired into her dream of quitting her day job and helping her launch the company that she runs today. What started out of her bedroom at her parents' house 7 years ago has now turned into a 7-figure business. The Shoe Fairy specializes in clear and nude heels that breed confidence through comfort. Alexa lives and breathes creating quality products that will empower other women. While she may be busy growing a business, she is also growing a baby, and her first baby boy is due this June. So welcome, Alexa, to the Beyond the Scale podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to just kind of get into it today.
Yeah. So I want to share with our listeners before we get started on your story, kind of how you and I got connected. Because I often, when I listen to podcasts, I always wonder, like, do these people really know each other and how did they meet, you know? And so Alexa and I both were at an event at Ed Milet's house months ago. It was a networking event and her partner were there, and we were just kind of standing in line. And I was like, okay, so hey, what do you do? And I learned a little bit more about Alexa and her shoe line and her love for fitness and just helping other women. And so I'm really glad I bumped into you, and I'm really excited for our listeners to learn about your journey. Yeah, and I know that we were talking before the show. So it all kind of started with your passion for fitness, and you started doing bodybuilding competitions. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I was always into going to the gym, and this was when I was 22. There was a girl in my gym that started doing bikini competitions, and I just thought it was really cool. And one day I kind of just wanted to try something new and challenge myself. So I always loved to do, like, let me try CrossFit, let me do boxing. Like, I was always exploring every avenue. So I decided, let me try doing bodybuilding. And you know, to do a bodybuilding prep and to get to that level of stage lean requires a lot of discipline. And I love food. So the hardest thing for me was to be eating, you know, the same exact thing 6 times a day on a very strict meal plan and doing the check-ins. And, you know, it's a whole new world. I'll never forget. I used a local coach for the first show, and we met at a Gold's Gym. We went to the bathroom because she said, you know, let me see kind of what we're working with. I'm like, okay, you know, go into the bathroom, and she's pretty much like telling me, like, drop your pants. Like, I had to pretty much like show myself in a sports bra and my thong so she could, like, really, she was just kind of looking and assessing my structure, because you have to know, you know, how far out from a show, how long do you need? How far out from a show are you? Like, where's your body at now? What do we need to do? And I was just like, wow, this is pretty odd. So for all of my check-ins, but she was great. She was awesome. I would go to her house, and like no one in her family would really be home or whatever. So it would just be us. And I would go in the bathroom and like take off my clothes and like be in my sports bra and my underwear and hit the poses, because that's how you have to do your check-ins. For the bodybuilding shows, you have to pretty much be in a bra and underwear or a bikini, because that's what you're wearing on stage. So even I remember when I used a male coach one time, the first time I used him, I would not send a picture in my back pose because I felt so weird showing my butt. And it was like 3 weeks in, and he told me, like, you know, you need to send the back pose. And I remember being like, oh, And then after a while, you get used to it. It becomes like nothing, but it's an interesting lifestyle for sure. The prepping is very intense. And at that time, I got into listening to motivational speakers. And that really kind of like shaped my mindset. Like it changed me to be so disciplined and realize that I can do things I never thought I can do. I can do anything I set my mind to. I didn't want to go out and hang out with people. Like I just became very in the zone. Yeah. And I realized like I loved the industry and I wanted to start a business within it. And I swear that it's like the confidence and the discipline I learned through bodybuilding and prepping is what allowed me to actually become this entrepreneur, because I have a bachelor's in psychology. Like this was never the plan.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I do think that's so true, because I find for myself, even in this crazy season of life that I'm in right now with my 2 little kids, the more focused I am on myself and being like the best version of myself, like in the gym, with my nutrition, with my sleep, and just getting really dialed in on all those things, I do feel more productive. I do feel like I'm more successful, and I have the mindset, like the right mind to take on more than I would if I was just like focusing 100% on work, but not on myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very true. I think that the more we can pour into our own cup and fill up our cup, the more we have to pour into everything else, into business, into our family, into our kids. Like we get more done. We're more efficient. We feel better. We have more energy. It absolutely goes hand in hand.
Oh, for sure. Now, I have never done a bikini comp, any of those competitions. I've been interested in them. My life, with the kids right now, I can't even imagine trying to do a prep like that. I have several friends who have competed in them. And what they talk about a lot is like, you're prepping for this competition. You're essentially getting in the best shape of your life, likely. And then afterwards, you have, the reverse dieting. You have that body image that you really, really loved and it looked great, but it's not attainable. Like you can't sustain that body image and that lifestyle that you're doing before forever. So walk us through like the psychology of that, because maybe you could touch on that a little bit, and just kind of like your mindset as to, okay, I look this certain way, but I know I can't look like this all the time. How do you be okay with, oh, well, I might gain 10 pounds and I no longer look like that?
I can really talk about this in so many arenas, because I've been at this for like 7 years now, being kind of like in this industry, in this life, right? So I've gone through a lot of phases and seasons in these 7 years. So now it's kind of cool because I can touch on a lot of them for the listeners. So at that time when I was doing it, it's NPC bikini is what I was competing in. And I did not have as much muscle as I do now. So I was very small, like a little string bean. When I look at those pictures now, but like shredded, like my abs, everything had veins popping through, like shredded to the core, but like a little string bean. And I thought I looked amazing. And now when I look at those pictures, I'm like, oh my God, I never want to look like that again. It's interesting how things change and your perception even of yourself and what you want for yourself, what you want your body to look like changes, because everyone asks me, will you ever do a show again? And I say, absolutely not. I don't ever want to look like that again. I don't ever want to lose that weight again and be that thin, because 1, like you said, it's not sustainable. 2, I enjoy having womanly curves now. Like I like being lean, but I like having more body to me. So what I've noticed throughout the years is like what you desire for yourself changes, but initially it's really hard. And that's another reason why I would never want to do it again per se, because it took me years to stop having body image issues. Because what you said is you get to this level of, say you're at like 8% body fat, you're not going to sustain that. I don't even know what I was. I'm just kind of guessing. It was very, very low. Like we'll have to like pop pictures up. But you can't sustain that. So when you do start to put weight on, what happened to me was I always felt fat. And now looking back, I look at those pictures and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad for that girl. Like, how could you have thought that you were fat? Like, especially now I'm 7 months pregnant. So now I'm like, But It's tough. And I think that what I've learned the most throughout is that you're going to go through seasons with everything. So when you're in that season where that's your goal, you're going to be super shredded, but you're also 100% dedicated. So 100% of effort is going into that, and very little effort is going into the rest of your life. Now, let's say you're going to switch seasons now, and you are starting a business, you're starting a family. You can't put 100% into your cardio, weighing your food, tracking your, doing all of the things. You can't have 100% in both areas, life and that. It's sacrifice. So you have to realize sometimes and be able to accept that I'm in another season right now, and that's okay. Because that's what I struggled with, along with just the body image issue, is I had to realize I'm in other seasons of life right now that require my attention. And I had to be able to accept it to get over comparing myself to the past. So when you enter a new season, it's so important to realize that, accept that, and love your older seasons, but realize you're not there anymore.
I love that so much. And to your point, like I had a similar experience. Again, never been in fitness competitions, but after I had my daughter, you know, you're back in being a gym owner, you have this pressure, and even just anybody in this industry, you have this pressure that you put on yourself. No one else is putting this on you. You put it on yourself, and you think, I have to look a certain way. I have to show up a certain way for my clients, just for my image, for being a professional in this industry. And so after I had my daughter, I quickly tried to get back into the gym, start getting back to that pre-pregnancy weight, that pre-pregnancy body, which turns out you never actually really go back to that. It's going to, your body changes in so many ways that, like, I am not going to be that same person that I was at 27 before I started having kids. Like, it's just not possible. But after I had my daughter, I was in the gym every single day, coaching 5-6 sessions a day. I was working out every single day outside of coaching, and I got down to the leanest I have ever been. I mean, I wasn't 8% body fat, but I was so lean. And then right when I hit that like ultimate time where I felt like maybe I could do a bikini competition or a bodybuilding competition, I actually did think about it. I then got pregnant with my son. And, you know, your body goes through all of these changes again. Well, now here I am almost 2 years postpartum with my son. He's about to turn 2. And I still am not back to that person I was. And I too look back at pictures of that girl that I was at that low body fat percentage. And I actually think to myself, ew, like I do not like the way that I looked. And I remember in that moment thinking like, I think I could look even better than this, you know, and like, and having those days where, you know, maybe you had a bad weekend and you're like, ugh, I feel fat. And like, I hate even using that word, but I'm like, that girl that I'm seeing from years and years ago, like she was never fat. And like the fact that I was thinking that is, oh, it's disturbing. It's so disturbing. And I never want any other women to feel like that, especially when you do go through the pregnancy journey and your body goes through all of these changes that you just can't control. There's too many things that are out of your control. It's like you have to appreciate where you are, and you have to appreciate it doesn't matter really the way you look as long as you're taking care of yourself, as long as you feel good. And that's really the message I want our listeners to get is like your body fat percentage and like how lean you are and the way that you stack up against someone else. Like all of those things are like, they just shouldn't be crossing your mind when you're talking about like being the best version of yourself. Like you have to define that for yourself. And I'm sure you kind of felt like that pressure because you were in that industry and you saw all these other women that you probably developed relationships with. Talk about that a little bit. Like, did you have friends that you kind of met? And
I was, you know, I wanted to get to this because it's funny. So I started a business in the industry. My shoe company started in the bodybuilding industry. So just to preface for the listeners, when you do a bikini show, you have to wear clear heels on stage, a specific kind of clear heel. that's where I noticed the gap in the industry was. It was just Amazon or stripper websites. So there was no one to tag on Instagram. Like, it wasn't a thing. Thus, the Shoe Fairy was born. I started in the bodybuilding industry, and that's still a majority of my customer base. I began manufacturing, designing, developing my own heels. And so when you go on the Shoe Fairy's Instagram, like on our page, it's all still shredded athletes and all these women with these bodies overdone and all of these things. That's what I'm exposed to. And I'm quite desensitized to it now. But I think for a while it was like, it kept making me want to still, like, seeing that on my page all the time made me want to keep trying to diet and eat lean to keep my stomach flat and this, just because I was looking at it and it's that comparison. Mm-hmm. And over time, I think I truly just became desensitized and like really just focused on myself and less even on Instagram. I never really scroll on that page or anything. But now the funny thing is, now that I'm pregnant, and I love what you just said, when you're going through pregnancy and becoming a mother, there's a lot of these things happening to your body that are out of your control. Like right now, my stomach and my body changes and the weight I'm gaining, like, talk about beyond the scale. What's on the scale right now I've never seen in my life. This is my first pregnancy. That's out of my control. And so when I still see on Instagram all these girls with these bodies and these small waists, I always had a small waist and a nice butt and all these things. And I'm like, oh man, I miss it. Like, I see it and I'm like, I miss it. And then I have to remind myself what you just said, like, but this, I can't do anything about it. I can't make my waist smaller right now. I'm literally just growing by the day, but it's because I'm pregnant. You know, it's out of my control. And I had to kind of like keep reminding myself, and just release it and just realize, like, this is a new season of my life. Like, I need to take it and embrace it for what it is. Otherwise, I'm only harming myself. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of it, honestly, comes down to mental shifts and being aware and intentional with where your focus is going and what you're thinking. Like, it's like a muscle. Like, our mindset is another muscle that we need to constantly be training. But you'll grow that muscle in your mind to make you stronger. You know, it's probably the most important muscle we have.
Oh, definitely. And you're going to look back, as I did, on this time, and you're going to be so proud of yourself in that journey when you were pregnant and the mindset that you did have. And you will go back to, or not, you will have the body that you want again, because I know you, and I know you'll be in the gym and you'll be taking care of yourself. And you're going to look back and say, like, wow, my body grew a human, and that was such a beautiful thing. And I'm glad that I was able to experience that. And then you'll probably be crazy like me and you'll do it again. And you're like, you know what? You have to embrace the journey. And if I could take care of 5 kids, I would have 5 kids, because I loved being pregnant. And I think it's such a humbling experience to watch your body go through those stages and then be able to get back into really good shape and then do it again. Like, it's fun. It's actually a fun process. It's really cool. And I love empowering other women to challenge themselves to take on that process, because today you do see too many women, they have kids, you know, they get pregnant, their body goes through all these changes, they have the baby, and then they wait too long to start exercising again. And it's very hard for them to get in the shape that they want to be and to look that certain way. Mm-hmm. And so it is my goal to empower women to take care of themselves throughout their pregnancy. And then also, as soon as you have that baby, start thinking about, how am I going to take care of myself so that I can best take care of my child? Mm-hmm. And that's a new venture for them. Like, that's a totally different muscle, as you've said, that you're going to have to work on, because you're not used to taking care of you and someone else at the same time. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit. How have you felt with, like, your exercise and your routine throughout your pregnancy, being that this is your first?
Guilty, very guilty. And I just want to be super raw and honest for everyone, because I'm sure, you know, people can relate. And it's kind of like, oh, you expect to hear someone on a podcast say that they've been great and I've been doing this and that. Well, you know what? I'm running a company that's expanding like crazy right now. I'm launching this line on Friday that I've been working on for 2 years. I've had so many curveballs thrown in business that I need to take care of everything now. Like, I'm in my 3rd trimester already and I'm working like a dog. Yeah. How much energy, we just had the baby shower. We had the gifts are everywhere. Nothing's ready for the room. I haven't looked into anything yet. I haven't taken any courses. Like, I have so much on my plate where when my hormones strike, I just cry about it. Oh. And then I have this guilt that I need to be taking care of myself. I need to be going to the gym. I need to be stretching and doing yoga and this and that. And I just can't do everything in a day. Like, when I have to get through everything with work, because that's what's building the future too. And I am the owner of this company. So that's a thing. When you are an entrepreneur and you become the owner of a company, there are some things that you have to do that no one else is able to do. I can't clock out. I'm not going home and clocking out. I have to get stuff done in order for this company, in order to keep everyone's jobs, in order to keep flourishing and growing. So it's been a tremendous amount of weight, and I've actually had so much guilt that I don't get to the gym as much as I'd like. I do small things, like I have an adjustable desk here that raises with a laptop on and a treadmill under it. So whenever I take my meetings, my Google Meet meetings on video, I just walk, because I'm just talking to people for an hour anyway. So I'll go on the treadmill and at least I'll be walking while I'm doing it so that I'm getting my steps in, or I'll be stretching at home. I'll go to the gym on the weekends, like when I have the extra energy, but it's just been a lot. And this is a season in my life, like we were just talking about, where I can't do it all. Yeah. And I think that as women, especially when you're a strong woman that strives to do it all, when you can't, you just feel an overwhelming amount of guilt. And I think that that's not talked about enough, because sometimes we can't do it all. And especially with being active and working out, like, my energy is so low that it has to go to the things that also need to get done. And I'm like, so I'm hoping that after this month, I'll get through the tornado season that I've been in. And I'm hoping to finish out the pregnancy, to be able to calm down with work so that I can finally put the energy into myself, my baby, getting prepared. That's my plan now. So I'm like, okay, enough with work, enough with business. I'm over it, ready to retire. But it's hard. And you do. I truly believe in what you said. You need to fill up your cup. You need to be your best self to allow that to pour into everything else. And so it's just like, sometimes when life happens, you feel guilty for not being able to go do those things and be in the gym,
Oh, definitely. And to your point, when I had my daughter, I had one gym. And then when I had my son, I had 2 gyms. And I never felt like I truly got a maternity leave. And I don't know about you, but I started my business before I thought about children. And so when it was, when I wanted to get pregnant, like, my husband and I kid you not, we went to the British Virgin Islands, and we went there for 10 days, and we literally said, want to try to have a baby? And 3 weeks later I was pregnant. So it was like, it was like one of those things where we never like sat down and said, like, what is our life going to look like when we have kids? Who's going to stay home with the baby? Are they going to go to daycare? Are we going to have a nanny? We never had that like family planning meeting that you hear so many people, that you hear so many people have. And so like when I had my daughter, I'm like, okay, we're growing our business, we're growing our family, like we'll figure it out. But as a business owner, like you don't ever get like a maternity leave. Like you don't get that time to just wake up and nap all day. Like during nap time, I would be working on my business. I would be checking in on my employees, make sure everything was running smoothly when I'm not there. And then as soon as I felt like I had the energy to show up, I was back on the floor coaching clients. I had babysitters coming to my house at 6 o'clock in the morning so that I could get to the gym. And it's a wild ride. Like it is just a lifestyle that not many women get to experience. But truthfully, I feel like we're lucky to be able to experience it, because I did get to that point, and I am at that point now where my kids are getting older, and I have been doing this long enough where I've figured out not necessarily how to balance but how to compartmentalize, how to say like, okay, I'm working right now, and right now I'm being like full-time mom, and how to really like shut that off, like how to shut one off and turn on the other. And that's, you know, it just takes time. But, you know, to your point, like what you were saying, like it is having a pregnancy and running a business and doing it all. Like you do have an extreme amount of guilt that you almost have to ask yourself though, like, why do you feel guilty? Is there someone else that is giving you pressure? Is there outside forces that's making you feel this pressure? Or does it like really matter at all? You know, like you're not bothering anybody by not getting into the gym every single day. It's really just like this internal guilt that we have. Like, okay, I should be doing this every day.
Yes, exactly. Especially when you're used to it. And that's like the same thing transitioning from bodybuilding, being super lean, entering another season, being not as lean. Like it takes time to kind of get used to your new normal. And like, no one's pressuring me. Everyone tells me you need to chill out because I'm like a psycho. I haven't taken a nap my whole pregnancy. Like I'm a psycho. So that's why the pressure and the guilt is self-inflicted, but it's because I know it makes me feel good. Like working out is when I feel my best. It makes me so happy. It's my time for me. And I've just been in this season where the baby's not even here yet, and I haven't had the time for me. And it's almost like this feeling of like panic, like, oh my gosh, you know, how do I fit it all in? And I'm sure so many women can relate to this. I made a video on my Instagram page that my videographer recorded just like off the cuff. And I was just saying that, you know, the hardest part about pregnancy is that our body is going through so much and it's so taxing. Like pregnancy is just very hard because it's just really taxing on your body. And we're just expected to go through life and do all the same things and do it all while we're going through this. And it's been a struggle to realize, like, when I'm pregnant, like, I can't operate at my fullest because I'm not. I'm building a human. A lot of my energy is going towards that. So it's been hard to realize, like, relax, like you're doing enough. But I think that we as women, we just put this pressure to do it all while being pregnant, while being a mom, like, it's just a lot of pressure, but I do think a lot of times it is semi-self-inflicted as well. What is your thoughts on that?
Oh, totally. And if you're anything like me, I have these days where, or like moments where like you feel like you're not doing enough. Like you've done everything for the day, or like you've, you know, completed a special project and you feel like, okay, I should be able to relax now, but you feel guilty for relaxing.
Yes.
And I can't relax. Like I am an overly productive, like addicted to productivity kind of person. Like when we go on vacation, it's like connect to Wi-Fi, check emails, just make sure everything is getting done. Like, and I think that is something that as a business owner, like over time, you get so invested and you want to succeed. Like you want to make sure everything's getting done, check all the boxes. So I don't really know the answer to turning that off and not feeling guilty for working all the time. Like it's something I'm working on too. It's hard.
I mean, I definitely actually over time, like I definitely don't have a problem turning off, especially it's more so like when I'm home, I feel like I need to be productive with, there's always stuff to do at home. And now it's always stuff to do to get the baby room ready and to be cleaning and to do the groceries and this and that. Like I feel guilty just like, or the laundry, like the list is always never ending. So I feel guilty taking that time to rest when I'm like, but this is productive. Like my poor body needs it.
Right. Exactly. That's how I feel too. And when you when you have kids and you do start to like find that balance, like I do think it gets easier because, you know, like the laundry's going to be there all the time. You're always going to be washing somebody else's clothes forever. And right now in this moment, it can wait. But it's like you have to give yourself some coaching through that.
Yeah, can't wait. All the laundry.
So what do you have left to do to prepare for the baby?
Okay, well, we have to finish the room. We just finished going through all the baby shower gifts. We had a big shower, like women, men, like it was a huge party. So we got a lot of gifts. So they sat for a little while. We finally just finished going through everything. we just started to figure out how to organize the room and how we're going to do the room. So I have to do the room and get that done. But I think what stresses me out the most is I want to feel prepared. So I have a book. I read a couple chapters, but it's for like labor, delivery, and birth.
Yeah.
I want to empower myself so that, you know, when the doctors come in and they are throwing things at me, I know what they're talking about. And I'm not just saying yes to whoever is trying to put their agenda on me. I want to make sure that I'm empowering myself with knowledge. And I want to take a hypnobirthing class because I'm very big on meditation and breathing. So I want to do a hypnobirthing class. It's been highly recommended to me. And also a newborn class, check out the things in the hospital. Like, I need to prepare for what's to come. I'm not prepared at all. Like, I looked at diapers the other night and I said to my fiance, he goes, no, those will go in the garage. We have the newborns up here. And I was like, this says 1. He's like, looks at me, he's like, that's 1 month, not newborn. I know this because he started organizing the diapers and I started dying laughing. I'm like, you know, it hits you when you make a registry and then when you get all the gifts and you realize you don't know what to do with them.
Right. Or you don't know, like, what is this? Like, what is this thing?
Like, or when, okay, so when do I use this for the baby? So I need to, like, slow down and transition to this because I always like to just feel prepared. I'm not so much like a planner. I'm more of like a preparer. Like, things are good. I know what to do. And when it happens, it happens. But I'm like, I'm not prepared at all. I don't know anything.
Yeah. Well, and I truthfully, that's kind of how I was in both my pregnancies. Like, we didn't get everything together until right at the end. And I actually thought it was more fun that way because, like, you're getting closer to your due date and you're, like, all in with everything. And it's just, it gets to be so fun and exciting. And my favorite time throughout both my pregnancies was once you get to, like, 35 weeks and the doctor says, like, oh, you know, everything's looking good. Like, he or she could technically come anytime now. That's when it's fun to me because it's like every day you're just going about your day and you're like, oh, is that like, what am I feeling right now? Like, am I going to have the baby today? And it's just like this guessing game. I think it's a lot of fun.
The whole thing though, because you know what like makes me nervous is I've been hearing like super popular lately, and it happened with my sister-in-law, with friends that we know, of people delivering very early, like developing preeclampsia or something and having the baby 2 months or a month and a half. Like, I've heard so many stories now that, like, yes, I think I'm due June 8th, but, like, it's not my plan. You know, it's, like, on the baby's terms, so it's, like, who knows? Like, it's a wild process. It's cool, but, again, balancing everything and, like, preparing everything is just crazy.
Oh, I love it. It's so exciting. Well, Alexa, I want to end off our time together by talking. I know you're really into helping other women feel empowered. And for any listeners that might be like in a transition phase of life, or maybe they're in a pregnancy journey like you, can you offer any tips to our listeners for like how to just like get through the stage of life where you do have so many things thrown at you that are out of your control, and you do feel like you're trying to take on the world, but it's not working out like you thought it would? Is there any tips or any advice you could give to our listeners?
Everything is always going to work out the way you want it to. Like, we have a lot more control than we think. So the thing is that things happen in life that are out of our control, right? And when it first hits us, when we first process it, you're just like in this whirlwind, which is normal. You have to process it. You have to take that time to figure out, okay, what can I control? What can I not control? What are the problems? What are the solutions? But the power that we have is always in our mind and always in our perception. Mm-hmm. So you can always control way more than you think. You might not be able to control what's happening, but you can control what you take from the experience, how you grow stronger from it, how you come out of it even stronger, what you build. Like, I think that people get so wrapped up in things not being the way they wanted, and they surrender. Like, they just are sad and they just surrender to it. When you have to fight, you can always make things better and come out of things better. And, you know, it's the adversity and the struggles and the crap that we go through in life that if you take that and you allow yourself to grow through it and not just go through it, you're going to come out with so much more wisdom, strength, experience. You're going to, it's like you appreciate the sun because you were through the darkness. You have to remember, like, you always hold that power. And that's definitely, I've gone through it many times, and that's why I speak so passionately about this. And that's definitely the piece of advice, like, no matter what it is that you're going through, don't ever allow yourself to simply just go through something. You better grow through it.
I love that so much. That was so good. And it's like, you can't always control what's happening to you, but you can control how you deal with the outcome. I love that so much. Well, Alexa, I love to ask all of my guests, what does living beyond the scale mean to you?
Well, you know what? The scale, there's a difference between the scale and life. And life should come first and the scale should come second. So when we live, like I just said, when you're going through bikini prep and you have 100% of your effort into this, you have to be able to have percentages everywhere. You can't have 100% on the scale, worrying about the number on the scale and this and life. You need to figure out what is your priority in this season and allow yourself to accept it and live beyond that scale, because life is there and you don't ever want to miss life because you're so focused on the scale. And that took me a while to learn, but once you kind of really grasp that, it's life-changing.
Yes, I love that. And to that point, like my kids, they're at that age where they always want to get ice cream. And if I'm always focusing on the scale, like, I miss out the opportunity to have ice cream with them. And like, we were just at the beach a few weeks ago, and my daughter was like, Mommy, are you going to get ice cream? And it's like, yeah, I'm going to get the ice cream because I want to enjoy this moment with you. And if I was always focused on the scale, I'm always going to miss out on those little opportunities and on those little moments, especially with my kids. So I love that so much.
Yeah, what's beyond the scale is life.
Right. Exactly. Well, Alexa, where can our listeners find you and learn more about Shoe Fairy?
My personal Instagram is at Alexa Stimp, and that's Alexa STIMP. My businesses are at The Shoe Fairy with an underscore at the end, and my new brand is at Naked Heels.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Well, Alexa, I have loved our time together today, and I know our listeners are going to get incredible value from this episode. Make sure that you subscribe to our Beyond the Scale channel on YouTube. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and share with all of your friends. So thank you for listening to another episode of Beyond the Scale, and I'll see you next time.